I don't have much left.
All right. So we are doing our first of 2 Go for No book studies. But the first question that I have is, what is everyone drinking? Diana's got water. Sherry had an active. Linda's got a coffee.
This is a hydrate when it's almost gone. And here's my active.
Sorry. So I've got my hydrate is almost gone. There's my water. And there's my shake. Sherry and I were just talking. I said, I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm doing a reset this morning. So I've done the things that I'm supposed to do so far. So I will decide after the call. I think it's probably a yes. But anyway, welcome to everyone. We're so excited. Oh, we've got more people coming in. So excited to be doing a very quick book study on Go for No. And if you read along with us to page 36, which is where you should be, you'll understand that this is not the same as a regular book study. You're reading a story. You're reading a story, and there's so much knowledge in here, so many nuggets. And what our intention was when we decided to do this Go for No was not necessarily to break down a book, but more so to use the principles to give you tools to be successful. And so that's going to be what a lot of today is. And I know I've got people that are wanting to pop in that aren't available today. That's okay. We will have the recording up after whenever it is that our VA gets it converted. But we're going to start with, I want to start with a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much does getting a no in your business affect you? 1 being not at all, and 10 being fetal position in the corner, need a moment. Where are you at on that scale of hearing no? All right. And I so appreciate everyone's transparency. You guys can stick those in the chat. Diana's saying 7. Amy has her hand up.
I'm going to say it's a sliding scale depending on the connection, emotional attachment I have to the person on the other end. So my neighbor, who I know needs this and all of that, their no is like, okay, that's no big deal. My husband saying no is a lot closer to 9.5.
Well, it depends on what he's saying no to.
Yes, very, very true.
Linda, I was meaning like, hey, I bought a new pair of shoes. Do you like them? No. And if I really like them, I'll be like, that's too bad for you. Because I like them. Always back to the shoes. But yes, Amy, I understand.
Like sliding scale on the personal connection to the person. Not necessarily the one of the connections we've talked about before of your actual attachment to the person on a regular basis, but a specific to that program. When you buy your kid a very special thing because you think they'll love it and they're like, no, your heart and soul went into that item. And that sort of shifting pieces.
Or if you've made a meal for your family and you've worked really hard on it and you have a ridiculously picky 10-year-old that's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to eat this. And you're like, darn straight, you're going to eat this. I do not accept that. No. You're going to sit there and eat it and you're going to like it, young man. That's a totally different situation. Leona says 5-ish. Most of the time it doesn't bother me, but yes, depends how hard I've worked or cared for something. Yes, for sure. Linda said 8. So if anybody, Chelsea.
Yeah, I'll say,
oh dear, hold on. There you are. Oh, you're back. Oh, hold on. You're muted though. You need to.
Yeah, that was, I don't know why that did that. I would say that I think it, for me, ever since reading this book, because I've read this book a few weeks ago and it's really helped me with getting no. And at first I'm kind of like, oh, I said no. And then I'm like, it's okay. I got my first no for the day. It's almost like it's an accomplishment now. And so it feels more like, all right, I'm on track, which is just like, I can't imagine. Anyways, so which just probably sounds weird to anyone else who hasn't read this book. I got my first no for the day. But I think for me at this point, it depends on how aggressive the person is about their no and how personally attacking they decide to make it. I haven't had a lot of those, but every once in a while you have someone who totally misjudges your character and has their own bone to pick with the industry or something, or someone else who really did something awful to them and it didn't have anything to do with me. But those moments I have to really like regain my thoughts and remember, like, I know who I am. This person doesn't see who I am.
Oh, shoot. And there she goes again.
Lost her.
Hold on. Keep going. You'll have to unmute again.
I don't know why he keeps doing that. I know who I am. This person maybe doesn't really get who I am. And that's okay. Because Jesus knows who I am and I don't need their approval.
Mhm.
And that's what I have to like come back to, because it's very tempting for me to be like, because I struggle with people pleasing and I've grown in that area and I'm so thankful. But I always have to, it's a mindset game for me. It's like, Jesus is my identity and he's the last word. So as long as Jesus and me are on the same page, like I really don't need to I don't need to make everyone love me in my life. And I'm not trying to go against them, but if they're not going to take the time to get to know me really and seek to understand who I am and they're making assumptions, then that's their fault. And I'm not going to put that on me. That's not I need to prove myself to everybody.
I love that.
Can I go?
Yes.
He's just square.
The other Chelsea.
I wish that I read this earlier. Like, I wish I read this back when I went for coffee with my auntie and she told me she wanted more for my life than selling products on the internet. Like, I just wish that, like, that hit pretty hard. And I wish I had read this or have done the self-growth that I have up till this point, because I probably would have responded a lot differently to that and would have been like, and then I don't really need to defend myself because God can do that for me. And I know that I am on the right path with all the pushback that I'm getting, right? Because that's kind of how you know. And so I just, I wish I could revisit that conversation and be like, okay, well, but she can just watch from afar and then eat her words a little bit,
Totally. I love that. And I think what we're getting at here is that if you're going for no, your focus is to ask more. You are looking for more responses. And so that takes us, yes, Amy.
On that piece of going for more responses and on what level of scale, boundaries is a huge one. And it's the two sides of the boundaries that affect all of that. Which boundary are you hitting when you make the ask with that person? Because I can call somebody that I haven't talked to ever, because I can pick up the phone book and open it and talk to them. I'm going to hit a different boundary and I'm going to be fine with that. No, differently than the boundary with my countdown to 18-year-old, because like maybe she gets a day or two after she turns 18 before she's like signing up and let's get you going, kid.
She should be in this book study.
Yeah.
Or give her the link. This is good information,
Seriously.
Catherine. Listen up.
This is actually much more readable than the sentence go for no had.
Isn't that interesting? The red light story we tell ourselves simply by looking at the title of something. So,
I just-
yeah, go
add
ahead.
that came to mind. Sometimes that whole rejection idea, because that's kind of what going for no is, how we handle rejection, right? Can tie a little bit into like how we were, what's the word I want to use? No, maybe like how we were treated as people or children in other circumstances, right? Like if we were really, what's the word I'm looking for? If we were really judged harshly or had really high expectations that we could never live up to as kids or in like job situations or whatever it could be, there could be a little bit of trauma attached to that note as well, right? So I love what Chelsea said too in that both Chelsea's, the personal growth piece in learning who you are in Christ, what your actual purpose is here, right? And in the situation, in any because we're talking about obviously the business, but also just life, right? Do you like my shoes? No, they're ugly, Mom. So I don't really care what you think, but just something to think about, that they're like in our situations, if we're really struggling with hearing no, there may be something else attached, right? To work through and to look into a little bit more.
I actually think that's really good, Leona, because that's a history piece. And where it really got me was there's a graphic in this book. If you've got the book, I think it's on page 29, but it's the graphic that has me in the middle, and it has failure to one side and success to the other. And I'm not sure where this graphic got so confused in my mind, but I was that graphic. I want to move away from failure and I want to move towards success. And when I read that page, it was like a light bulb kind of thing, because it's like, that makes no sense, because we go through failure to get to success. Which kid did you take to a swimming lesson that knew how to swim day one? No, they go through all the trials, I don't want to put my face in the water, Mom. I don't know how to blow out the bubbles. They go through all the failures, all the failing moments to get to success. They don't learn to walk the day they try the first time. They sit down and sit down and sit down until they get there. Like if you've ever tried skiing, I don't know about you, but I didn't ski that good the first time I went down the hill. I went through the failing times to get to the success. But and this is the confusion for me, the failing times did not make me a failure. And the failing times moved me towards successful situations. And so when I read that, it was like, wow, why do I get this so balled up in my mind to think that somebody's saying, no, they don't want this now, means anything about me? And it brings me back to the waitress serving coffee. Do I want coffee now? No. Do I want coffee now? Maybe. Do you want coffee now? Yeah, I'm ready for a cup of coffee now. Thank you. Matter of fact, if you don't offer it to me, maybe I'll get up and go get it myself or move to another restaurant because you're not taking care of me. So I guess I really have had to kind of really think through this whole mind piece on it. And your comment, Leona, about history and how we've developed a meaning, a cellular meaning for it, is a big part of it. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox.
Nope, I like your soapbox. I like your soapbox.
I was just going to add to that. Thank you, Sherry. It sometimes depends just where we are, what we're struggling through in life. Like when I'm in a healthy place in my Christian walk with God, when I'm in a healthy place, it's all good. I can take a note. But if I'm struggling, and I'm just struggling with whatever, right? Then a no is a lot different, right? And it depends sometimes who you ask too, but yeah, it's your identity and who you are, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting, the work on identity and value of self. Again, I'm going to make the mention because I think it's so important. If this is an area that you really feel like you're struggling in this, who am I? Can I accept who I am? Do I have thoughts surrounding who I am that I feel are hindering growth in my life in general? Looking into Soul Detox with Dr. Tina is a brilliant idea, an absolutely brilliant idea, and doing the one-on-one coaching that she has with it. It is not a bargain. Well, it is, but it's not. It's not like $20 a month. Let's just say that. But it's worth every penny, because when you really start to dig into some of that, you're like, okay, hold on a second. Maybe this is a little bit deeper than even I realized. And like Emily Gibson says, you can't read the label of the ketchup bottle from the inside. You need somebody that's looking on the outside sometimes to read it to you. So this whole idea of going for no, more asks, more responses. I love at the beginning of the book when he's talking about, it's in the note from the authors. If you could go into the future and talk with yourself, a smarter, bolder, less timid version of you, what would happen? And that's the whole basis of the book, right? So if you could imagine where you want to be, your goals, your purpose, if you really sit down, because we talk about what our why is all the time, but I'm talking like a deeper soul connection to your purpose. If you could imagine where you could be if you were living that out, and if you could have that conversation with that person right now, what do you think that they would tell you? What do you think that they could unearth for you? Yeah. I have so many thoughts, and I love the conversations that we're having. Like I could even let's just throw away the book. Like it doesn't really matter. We can just keep on talking about all of the things, right? But the whole concept of this go for no, when he starts talking about his day, he got his 3 yeses on Monday. He wants 5 for the week, or whatever the number is. Can you tell? I can't remember. 3 calls, close them all, 3 for 3. It's Monday. Needs to have 1 or 2 more, right? Is it 4 or 5? And then he spends his week doing other things, because the accomplishment or the sense of accomplishment has been given early in the week. Amy had a light bulb. I saw it. It flashed right over her shoulder.
Yes, because yes, he spent his time on other things, but on Tuesday, he spent his day doing paperwork, which is important. It needs to be done. The piece that I actually had to reread more than once was the comment about, there's so much paperwork when you make a sale. I almost hate making a sale.
Yeah.
And that piece really is that mind piece again. How do you feel when you get a yes? Do you again have that sliding scale, because you're like, yes, I know this person. I'm going to do the follow-up. It's going to rock. It's going to be so easy. They're going to contact me all the time. Or is it going to be, now I have to do the follow-up, and this person I don't hardly know. So like every message back is going to be, what is it?
Well, and it can also be, so you get one of those high value yeses. And when I say a high value yes, that's what we're talking about, is when we get those no's that are kind of a little crushing, because there's somebody that that we love, right? Chelsea was talking about her auntie. If that would have been a yes, that would have been a really high value yes, right? And so instead it was like a deficit no. But when we get those high value yeses, sometimes that personal value piece that we were just talking about creeps in. If it is not balanced, if we are not, like Leona said, in a healthy space, it can be, oh, I am going to let them down. I am probably going to say something wrong. My follow-up is not always the best. I have really bad attrition. There are so many stories that we can tell ourselves that cripple us. And so that yes becomes a deficit no before it's even been anything, right? And this is where talking to yourself like you know who you are, you know what value you hold, you know who you want to become, needs to be louder. All of those things need to be louder than the deficit. Sherry and I were talking about this last night, where your realization of where your growth zone is. It's great to know the things you struggle in. But before you can really look at that, you need to have a solid core belief surrounding the things you're amazing at, the things that make you you, that can be nobody else, the things that you could do in your sleep, who you are, who God sees you to be, what you are allowed to love about yourself. And can we take that just for a moment? You are allowed to love things about yourself. In fact, really connecting with things that you love about yourself could potentially change absolutely everything surrounding this word right here. I will use myself as a guinea pig. I would have told you 6 months ago, I know who God says I am. I grew up in the church. I know my Bible. I've had a relationship with the Lord for years and years and years. I know all the things. Okay. Why sometimes do we have a faulty connection between here and here? Because you can know, you can read it, but unless it connects here and you actually have that as a core part of your being, it doesn't matter what you know. And so then when you have this faulty connection between your head and your heart, and you start hearing no's from people who you value highly, or you start to hear, oh, you know what, I could really get better at follow-up. I could, oh, I failed at that, right? It's that fail word. I failed at that. Fail is not a bad word. It just depends on how we hear it. It depends on where it resonates. And so knowing who you are, what your value is so crucial to the success of hearing no's. And Amy, I want to say, yes, paperwork is super important, but it's also way better for you if you just like smooth it out over a couple days. Because had he done an hour of paperwork that day and then done an hour of sales calls, he would probably be further ahead in general. Okay, I got to go to the chat and read so that everybody can, on the recording. An action does not define us. Yes, Amy. Diana says that Amy is brilliant, which we all agree to. And she says, I've had to learn to love myself so I can love others. And that is so, so, so important. So more asks, more responses in general. But the story about him and the customer, and I love that this is in here because we had some questions about getting a no, right? Someone had said, I'm in a season of getting no's. Okay. First of all, let's talk about, and I want to hear what you guys have to say, is that the mental spending limit that sometimes that we set up can be all the difference in our business, right? you say, oh, I'd never talk to that person because yeah, their health is really awful, but their financial situation is just like, there's no way that they could make this work. So you already capped their spending limit before they had a chance to decide. Did anyone resonate with that? The mental spending limit piece?
I think the part that I really resonated with is that every transaction needs a no, or you're not finished.
Yes.
Every time needs a no. So somebody's interested, you share it with them. And then they want to know a little bit more, and and they're ready to get started. And you need to be then sharing the rest of the products. Oh, well, sure, they'll have those too. And then you need to be sharing about the business. And you're not done sharing new options until they've said no in this time period. You're still not done sharing because the no could turn into a yes later. But you're not done in that process until they've said, no, I don't think I'll get that right now. Thanks.
Absolutely. And so now let's talk about somebody saying no when our positioning is such, going back to the mental spending limit, because you all know that when we have a hang up on something, that tends to be what we face with everyone. Oh, the shipping is too much. It's not something I ever hear. But then again, I don't believe the shipping is too much because I don't even pay attention to the shipping. It's got to get to my door somehow. And I know how much it costs to mail something stupid and small. So I figure I'm getting a really good deal, right? But yeah, go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no.
I was gonna say on the shipping stuff, yeah, like to ship a bag of lean from me to someone is $18.
Yes.
That's one bag of lean.
Isn't that insane?
Or one
What?
cup with names on it, or one anything. It's $20 for me to ship anything out of here to anybody.
Mm-hmm. So let's go just practically. Right now, we are getting free shipping and free tax. Well, it's a cent on the NFR. So here's an education piece, just in case I haven't said it, because I feel like I need to say this far and wide because it's so important. Our NFR orders are a $9.99 US flat rate shipping, plus a percentage of your order on top of that. Included in the shipping line is also your duty, your tax, your like whatever that whole mysterious bundle of things is, that's thrown into that shipping line also. So when you look at your shipping and you go, oh, well, $10 of that shipping is actually, that's the flat rate. And then a percentage of my order is dumped on top of that. And then there's tax. Well, okay, that number all of a sudden doesn't seem that bad, especially if you go back and look at something else you just ordered and you add up your taxes and your shipping together and you go, oh, yep. Yeah, that's pretty close, right? But we're just not used to seeing it in the same line. So that's really good to know. Another great thing to know, if you don't know, is that companies that offer free shipping all the time, when you hit a certain amount, guess what they do? They're sneaky. I don't like it. They build in the cost of shipping to each individual product. So if I were going to purchase this beautiful bumblebee that my son made for me, but the bumblebee kit making whatever decided that they were going to create a shipping price that was $5 on this little guy, and they were going to add $5 to the cost of the entire bumblebee. But tell me it's free shipping. I mean, like, look, it's free. Isn't that exciting? It's free. You know, people that say, oh, I don't know why Plexus doesn't do free shipping. So many companies do. Oh, I know why. Because they want to tell you how much their product is costing you. They're not inflating the cost of the product to cover your shipping. Trust me, sweetheart, you are paying for shipping one way or another. Nothing is free. But it's a good thing to know, right? So you can say to people, actually, I heard something really interesting about that. I want to share it with you. Knowledge is power, people. Absolutely. So if we have people that come up with financial, right? Like, oh, I could never, how many people sell? I just want to know how many people, the bulk of you, okay, put in the chat and if the bulk of the welcome packs that you sell are small welcome packs, or the bulk of the welcome packs that you sell are large welcome packs. And if it is a small welcome pack with additional product on top of that, put a B as well.
So B for the large welcome pack, A for the small.
A for the small.
B for small plus extras.
Yes. I need to figure out how to put the polls up in the Zooms because I think that would be really fun.
Oh, that would be fun.
We should figure that out. Okay, so I will tell you, and Sherry can probably tell you the same thing. Obviously, Amy's got that in there too. That 98% of the time, I sell large welcome packs. 98% of the time. And I think, I would love to hear from more of you on this. I think I know the reason. So I would love to hear if you think it's just my market, they're broke, or I don't even bother talking about, and that's okay. We all have growth, because this wasn't always a thing with me. Big welcome packs was not always a thing. Triplex was, sort of home base. Do you guys feel like it's a cost thing that, people are balking at the price? If how do you guys feel about that? Does anybody want to be vulnerable? And oh, Chelsea is being vulnerable. I love it. She said, it's my own financial cap that I put on others. Leona, you can encourage my squirrels anytime you want to.
Squirrel party.
Anytime. Yeah. And I truly believe, so there's some verbiage here that I have found terribly helpful. And I don't know if it will serve you, but we'll share it anyway. I like giving people a good, better, best option. Good starts with triplex. 1000%. Unless they don't want to be unhappy. And not like pervasively unhappy, but if it's somebody that I feel like is going to have commitment issues, we won't talk about triplex. We want them to be happy. We want them to get on like Slim and X Factor and maybe Ease and maybe some active. We just want them to be happy, right? But we will have the conversation about going deep. Triplex is usually most of the time. And then of course, what do we add to triplex if we're going to go that better step? Well, we're going to add, anybody?
Ease.
Ease and or X Factor Plus.
X Factor.
Right? Pick one. Usually it's Ease. And then I will say to them, so if I had my way and I could start you on anything, exactly what I feel like you need, regardless of pricing, this is what I would do. And then I deliver the whatever it is, the whole health.
Whole health is what I do.
Package, because that is the bomb.com. That whole package has my heart in so many ways. They get everything. And most of the time, they want to know, because guess what, guys? They have come to you because they've decided you're an expert. If you're talking to them, you are the expert. Now, guess where that has to sit? That has to sit in your heart. You have to be willing to accept that you, in the eyes of this person that you are helping, you are an expert. Yeah, but I'm not a naturopath like Jessica. Nobody asked you to be. They want the knowledge you have, but you know what more they want and what they need? They need you and empathy and you loving people. That is the only thing, you guys, that is the only prerequisite to Plexus doing this business, is empathy and willingness to walk with other people. Isn't that the best news ever? We don't have to be Sherry Grant. We don't have to have a brain that loves to research. You can hate research and do Plexus and be terribly successful. Yes, Cheryl.
interrupt because I got a message last night from one of my team members, and she's like, where does Sherry get all this information? She's clearly been watching your posts, and she's like, why can't I find stuff like that? Like those articles. And I'm like, Sherry's a researcher and we call her a doctor for a reason.
Actually, I've come to find that just like cows have 4 stomachs, Sherry has an extra chamber of her brain that is hidden somewhere. And it is only for the information that we all need. But she gets to keep it. It's good news. It's good news. And this is why we need each other, right? We totally do. But empathy, you just need to be willing to do the thing alongside the person and be okay saying, I don't know the answer to that, but I will find out. I will find out. And again, it goes back to belief. Sherry, why are we going back to belief all the time? Do you believe that you could find the answer? I believe you can find any answer that you want. So once a person shifts their thinking, you shift the cap that you put on the person, right? Can you imagine going into a store and buying what that guy did? Like, as for somebody who worked retail, I was thinking when Sherry and I were talking about this book, I'm like, I can think of particular sales that I've had. And they just kept saying yes. And their yeses were almost exhausting because I'm like, I have nothing to, like, there's no stop. I don't know where we're done. I don't get it. Like, I feel like I've sold them everything here. And something as simple in a sales way can be, can I carry that out to your car for you? Right? Where are some other areas that maybe we're afraid to ask to get a no in besides the sale? Anyone? Business.
Yes, Chelsea.
Business.
Yeah.
So they've said yes, 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 yes. They've bought it. They've even said yes to giving you their credit card number, and you've put it in for them and it's great. And you've set up the subscription. And now it's time for the magic question.
Yeah.
Who remembers what the magic question is? Chelsea.
So if you take these and you find out that you love them and they're working great, will you be sharing this with other people?
Absolutely.
And if you've got a run of yeses, I would move right into, and who else do you know that would love to feel better?
Absolutely.
Because by that time, you probably know they've got a sister who deals with the same things. Do you think your sister would love this too?
A really easy gateway to that is, as you're talking and you're putting the order in, you say, gosh, I can think of so many people. When I first started with Plexus, I could think of so many people who were struggling with their health, just like I was. And you know what somebody's like gut reaction is to that? Because they're invested in you. They're saying the yeses, right? They want to come back with something. Yeah. I know this person and this person and this person and this person. I've got a crazy idea. Why don't we tell them? And you can say, I don't know if this is going to work. Leona, you are like my, like, I've like created a statue of Leona in my brain that's standing in your kitchen, much like you are right now. And she says, I don't actually know why these work or even if they're going to continue to work, but right now they're doing great things for me and I think you should try them too. It was like the most perfectly imperfect, impromptu download of things because you loved the people that you were talking to and you were like, I don't know, but I think it's good. And I think you need to try it too. The other thing I love about that is that you aren't promising the sun, moon, and the stars. We can have hopes for people and then overpromise and underdeliver because their bodies are different than ours. Love it. So continuing to ask questions until you get a no. But guess what the exciting part about that is? It's one of your no's. It's a no. Even if it's a yes, it's a no. Hey, I have these 2 amazing Facebook groups that I really feel will be crucial to your success on your journey. Can I add you to them? Amy, hold on. You got to go,
Yes. I actually had to change the way I said that because I was getting people to say no, they don't want to be added to that. So I had to change it and say, hey, I found these 2 groups, so I added you. You can check them out anytime. Just so I could get them in the group.
I find when I build their belief on what they're going to find in the groups, they're like, oh, yes, I want more information. Could you please?
That's true too. So the
But I
other
love
thing that
that.
I really loved was their example of going down the grocery store with the child. Can I have that?
Yes.
No. Can I have that? No. Can I have that? No. So the reality is we have all been conditioned to hear no, to repeat the question, to say no, to repeat it. We can be like children in getting that. Just change yes. But now the exciting part is that I have a child that boundaries include saying no. So now I'm in the whole like respecting the boundary, but how often can I ask them to do something to change the no to a yes? Can you wash the floor? Will you wash the floor? When are you going to wash the floor? When are you going to wash the floor? Right? Like I can do this.
Could you wash the floor?
reverse.
Could you do this? This book actually told me that I was a far better parent than I thought I was because I have my last born is terribly insistent because I think, I don't know, all of you guys that have many children maybe could help me with this, with that last one, because you were so consistent with that first one and the middle 2, you're pretty consistent with them too. And then the last one has to keep asking and asking and asking because you're only listening with like 1/8 of your brain because everybody else has the rest of it. And they become so persistent and patient. Like I'm like, dude, you are so patient, but you understand that if you ask mom 27 times, on the 27th time, I will actually hear you and be like, yes, I would love to give you that glass of milk from the fridge. Yes, you can. I thought I was being a terrible parent. Apparently, I'm teaching my child to go for no. So I am just retraining the soundtrack in my brain. Congratulations if you're with me. We're great parents.
That's a whole switch of perspective that I had not quite got to.
I'm like, Addison needs to read this book simply because.
I'm so
Go, Leona.
same thing at my youngest daughter. Exactly. Everything you just said. I don't need to add.
It's comical, right? And you do get times where you're like, I'm such a bad parent because they're asking 1,000,000 times and no means no. And for the first one, heaven forbid, like, stop asking me, go sit on a chair. Right?
Not right.
One,
I can't answer that right now. Sometimes, right?
yeah. And my oldest one will be like, Mom, you never would have done that with us. No. And he's turning out better. So we're just going to go with it. Chelsea.
My middle child, my Finley, she asked me the other morning for milk like 100 times on the couch, and I'm just like, we are leaving and I have drinks packed, you can wait. And she just like kept going and going, and then she's like, all right, Mom. And she's 3. She's like, all right, Mom, I'm not gonna tell you again, I need milk. And I'm just like, I was standing in the kitchen, I was just like, like, who are you? I'm like, okay,
What did
honey.
you just say to me?
Yeah, it's just so funny. She used my own words against me. So that's what I say. I'm not going to tell you guys again. Da 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 da. And she goes, "All right, mom."
That's so funny. That's so funny. I probably would have been like, I haven't been hearing you, have I? I have not been hearing you. I am so sorry. Children make great, great teachers. So, okay, so what we want to do here, to move us from us through failure to success, which can we just add the parenting piece in there as well? That sometimes we feel like we need to save our kids from failure. We want to teach them all the things that we know so that they don't fail in those areas and become like who? Us. Would it be that bad? Again, going back to the whole, who am I? What value do I have? Like, this is a piece of me, realizing they aren't genetically predisposed to be at least somewhat like you. Like, let's just toss that out there. And even if they are not your genetics, they've lived with you for a really long time. They're probably going to end up kind of like you. Kind of like how my oldest son, who has hardly spent any time with his uncle, is the spitting image of him and does weird things that creep me out on the daily that are exactly like his uncle. And I'm like, that is not a learned behavior. That is genetic. You got the genetics too. So we do need to allow ourselves to pass through failure to success. We need to allow our teams. That's really hard, right? To watch somebody that you love on your team that you're invested in pass through failure to get to success. Cheryl said, I had mine too close together. I don't listen all the time. The baby's the worst. Yeah, bless them. But it's okay. I always have to trust that God's just going to fill in the gaps and we're all going to be okay. So we want to go through some really easy verbiage for you guys. And if you're watching this back, you can pause and you can write this down. And if you really want to write it down, yeah, you can do that too. So Sherry and I are going to model a couple. So the first one that we're going to use is just a super easy one. This person has messaged me to get more information. Hey, I've seen your posts. I'm really curious about Plexus. Okay. So that's the concept. That's what Sherry has messaged me. And I'm going to say, hey, thanks so much for reaching out. First things first, have you ever heard of Plexus?
Just what I've watched from your posts. That's all I know.
Right. Okay. So, and this could be messenger. This could be audio. This can be talking on the phone, whatever. Right. So I will say Plexus is a natural supplement company that focuses on getting to the root of what we struggle with by zeroing in on blood sugar balance, healing the gut, and getting rid of inflammation. There's a video that explains it way better than I can, and it's super short. If I sent it to you, would you be able to watch it right now? It's under 3 minutes.
Oh, sure. I have time.
Okay, awesome. After you're done, I'd love to hear what, if anything, surprised you most. Link. And then I'm going to set my mental timer. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to say, so now that you've watched, what was the thing that stood out to you the most?
Well, I can't believe that all those things are connected. I can hardly believe it.
Absolutely. Gut health is so connected to everything, and it's something most of us have always neglected. So my next question is, if you could change 3 things about your health right now, what would they be?
Well, my kids say I forget things, so I guess a little mental clarity would be, that brain fog thing. It's probably just normal. I mean, that's probably just what happens with age, And these extra 10 pounds around my stomach, like if that could just go, that would be so good.
Totally. Do you have one more, or are those 2 the massive things?
Well, that's the 2 biggies.
Those are the 2 big ones. Okay. So at this point, depending on where you are, so time out. At this point, depending on where you are in your journey, you may choose your own path. So you can either choose to go to a testimonial group like Grow in Health and Happiness, Gut Health and Happiness, True North Health and Happiness, whatever happiness group you choose, and find a testimonial about the thing that they seem to be struggling the most. pop it into the messenger chat and say, does this resonate with you at all? Realize that I did not say, please add them to said group, wait for approval, and then continue to tag and whatever. Okay. That to me comes later because we can squirrel, and if somebody opens up that thing, they can be like, woo, like, yeah, unless they are a voracious reader and researcher, they're going to get really distracted, and you want to keep focus on this thing. So she's going to say that she read the thing, and she's going to say, yes, that totally sounds just like me. Right. And so at that point in time would be when I would try to get them on the phone. Now, if you are further down the line and you don't feel like they need another layer of here's another story because they've been watching you forever, before you send them the testimonial, you might want to say, hey, would you have a couple of minutes to get on the phone with me? I don't know about you guys, but if I can get somebody on the phone, it's about a 99% close rate. I can gauge what they're saying so much better, emotion, all of those things. And then we move into, would you be open to hearing some suggestions of what I think would work really well for you? And they can say yes. And then we go into what we just talked about as far as the good, better, best. Remember that saying less is saying more. It used to be that we felt like they needed so many layers of information. If they're coming to you, they probably have already made up their minds, at least a little bit, that this is what they want. Okay. Scenario 2. Sherry has commented on a post of mine about magnesium because I would post something about magnesium. I feel like I should be doing. I commented on Sherry's post about magnesium. No. I have been told that this is the seat I sit in. So Sherry commented on my post about magnesium. Oh, Chelsea, I love that. Sorry. Chelsea said, I always tell them I'm an old school soul and would love to chat on the phone. I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay. So she commented on a post about magnesium and she said, oh, wow, that's a lot of things. Right? Because it's all about deficiencies in magnesium. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to love her comment, hover over the like thing, click on the love button, and then I'm going to comment, I know, right? With probably an emoji because I'm a 7 and that's just what I do. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to message this lovely person and I'm going to say, hey, thank you so much for commenting on my magnesium. Isn't it crazy how something so simple like a deficiency in magnesium can add up to so many things? So can I ask you what things in that post stood out to you the most?
Well, for me, it really was those muscle things, those muscle cramps, the leg cramps. And I had no idea. Menstrual cramps too?
Totally. Like I said, it is all so connected to so many things that we have no idea about. So I have to ask you though, have you ever heard about plexus before?
Well, I've been watching your posts, so I've seen a few of the things that you've posted.
Okay, so would you be open to hearing a little bit more about the concept behind plexus and how this magnesium piece fits into it?
Oh, sure.
Awesome. And then wash, rinse, repeat. We're going back to the video. This does not need to be complicated. It can be, I could spend a whole lot of video time or audio time messaging you a whole bunch of words, but I have a really easy to watch video that's 3 minutes long that will say this far better than I can. If I sent it to you right now, would you have time to watch it?
Actually, I don't have time right now. I'm just headed out the door. I'm going to, I need to run an errand, but I could watch it later today sometime, I'm sure.
Fantastic. Do you know about what time you're going to be home?
No idea. No, we're harvesting. I have no idea when I'm going to get back here.
Okay, here's a thought. You message me back when you get home, but if you forget, I'll make sure to follow up with you later tonight and we can find a time that's going to work best for you because I know you're going to want to watch this video.
Sure thing.
Sounds good. I'm not sending that link unless she's going to tell me she's going to watch it right now. because I don't want to lose her in her errands, because then all of a sudden it goes crickets and you're like, well, what? Where did they go? Right? So then later, I'm going to message her and say,
back.
oh, she's going to say she's back.
I'm back.
Fantastic. 3-minute video. Ready, set, go?
On it.
Question mark.
On it.
All right. Popping it in to the chat. And I'm going to say, I'm going to watch it at the same time as you are, because can I just say, sometimes we would send these videos and we forget what's in the videos, because I do. Because they just send the same videos all the time. And every now and again, it's really good to watch them again. I'm going to watch it alongside you. When we're done, I'm going to ask you a question. We're going to watch it. And then we say, okay, I want to know if there's anything on there that stood out to you. And 99% of the time, they're going to say the same thing as we said before. Wow, I had no idea that gut health, blah, 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 blah. And then you just go back to what it was before, but always focusing on getting to that personal connection with talking to them on the phone, or setting up a coffee, or inviting them to an in-person event, any of those kinds of things. If you are not comfortable talking to people, the only way you're going to get comfortable talking to them is if you do it over and over and over again. And so those conversations need to go until you get a no. Sorry.
And I would like to say that when people are, as a leader, I'm going to switch roles just for a second. As a leader, when people are messaging you saying, I need help with this, I got this response, I got this. For me as a leader to do my best to help you, I need the whole message stream. I need to know where it came from, what they said, what you said, what they said. The last message doesn't provide me with enough context to understand how you came to be where you are. It's like you're, I'm in the city and I'm on the sidewalk and you're standing here and you're like, help me get to such and such. And I'm like, such and such, you like, where are you coming from? Are you walking? Are you driving? How are you getting there? Like, what is it that you're really wanting here? So getting the context is really important in helping somebody move forward in their process.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And the other thing too is, number one, if you're new and you're watching this, don't be afraid to loop your upline in. But at some point in time, it is okay to do it on your own. You can still ask questions, but you can do a lot of these things simply by saying, oh, hang on, I don't actually know the answer to that. I'll be back. Right? Yeah. At the end of the day, when you're trying to close somebody and you're asking for that, that response, right? Whether it's a no or a yes. You guys all know here, because you're like almost as ancient as I am. I love saying, is there any reason why we couldn't get you started right away? I feel like that is the easiest ask that there is. Because asking them something as if like, are you ready? Is a yes or no. Is there any reason is an open-ended question, because you are inviting any other concerns to be addressed with you at that point in time. Maybe they've stopped messaging. Yes, we need to get on the Plexus book study. Maybe they've stopped messaging you. And you can say something like, I'm sorry, did I scare you? You know, and summer is a great time because there's harvesting, there's the lake, there's all of those things, right? But we are looking for more responses. So I hope that from at least the first half of this book, what you took into consideration is more asks is more responses, yeses or nos. And so asks can literally be just starting a conversation. It doesn't have to be, hey, do you want to buy my Plexus? We are looking for any part, any layer in the conversation. We're looking to connect with people either as a primary touch with them or a last touch. And I'm going to tell you all this. So we're at the end of August. I'm not going to let it out of the bag. You will be so thankful that you are doing diligent work now at the end of August that will probably get you some results here in August, but will start the ball rolling for the results in September. You are going to want to be looking for results in September. There is a phenomenal, like probably one of the best incentives that Plexus runs or has run in the past. They're running again. I'm really excited, and I'm making a plan. Y'all are going to want to be doing the work so that when you know, you're already running. You're not even going to hit the ground running on the first. You're already running. Have I made you curious? I hope I did. I hope I made you curious to the point that you're going to get ready to get into action and do some no's for today. All right, guys. Plexus book study is happening right now. I will drop this in multiple places when I get the recording up. Thank you all for being here. And I so have appreciated our conversation today. When you guys engage, it just makes the whole thing richer. So thank you all. Have a great Saturday. Bye.